I would rather tell the world what I've done than what I'm going to do. There's enough people talking. Just make the move and don't talk until it's time for the checkmate. Move in silence. One of the most underrated superpowers on earth is moving in silence, thinking in silence, caucusing in silence, meditating, praying, working on your craft, doing the dark work behind the scenes where nobody can see it, nobody can congratulate you, nobody can affirm you, nobody can celebrate you. I'm doing this thing not to be celebrated. I'm doing this thing not to be noticed and acknowledged and supported. I'm doing this thing because if I don't do this, I'm not going to achieve what it is that I'm after. This is the power of moving in silence. If I'm going to move in silence, I've got to know how to plan in silence and think in silence and meditate and pray and put the work in behind the scenes.
I always felt like I needed other people to believe in me. But it wasn't until I started believing in me that I started going places. When I started to back myself, other people started to back me. When I realized my worth, others saw my worth. Now I know I don't need others to do anything or achieve anything in my life. It's great to have support, but it's better to have belief in yourself. It's great to have support, but it's better to have mental strength. It's great to have people in your corner, but it's better to be able to fight when life has you cornered. I am ready for any fight, any challenge life has in store, and I will always back myself.
At the center of bringing any dream into fruition is self-discipline.
The lack of belief is why you're not successful.
What if you could just shut out every distraction? What if you could just shut out the world for just a season and focus on you? Can you unplug for just a moment and focus on you? Focus on what matters.
Just remember, your life is your life, and you have the right to live it the best way you can.
Why are you here? What is your destiny?
And every morning you wake up and you look in the mirror, I want you to look in that mirror and I want you to tell yourself that I am special, I am great, and I am phenomenal.
You must discipline yourself. Take control of your life.
Nobody will stop me from reaching my goal.
That's the juice. Figuring out that thing that makes you come alive. It isn't keeping up with the Joneses. It isn't how much you're getting paid. It isn't anything other than for you. Something very specific. It will be different for everyone, but for you. Find that thing that makes you come alive. Focus on it. Think about it. Put your time and attention there. Shift away from seeing the pain in the opera and instead seeing the wonderment in it all. Seeing the glory that is just everything around you, the opportunities, the fact that you're alive. Once you can see that those basic things that you take for granted, that you can breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, all of that stuff, once you start seeing how miraculous it really is, once you start seeing how we're connected to each other, once you understand that the name of the game isn't wealth, it isn't fame, it isn't ambition or success, it's neurochemistry. It's feeling a certain way. It's finding fulfillment in your life. Once you realize that, you'll understand this is a game of attention. And you entirely control what you focus on. So choose very wisely, my friends, because your life will literally become the summation of the things that you look at.
Your life doesn't have meaning without aspiration or an aim. Okay, so you need a hierarchy of values. There's got to be something at the top. It's got to be something important. If you don't have that, your life doesn't have any meaning. So if you criticize the hierarchy, or even the idea of hierarchy, you destroy the idea of aspiration. And then people have nothing. Well, that's not helpful. People are built for a struggle and they're built for a weight, and you want to take on a heavy burden voluntarily. See if you can put yourself together. See what you can do out in the world while you're waiting to die. It's an all-in game. It better be worthwhile. And so there's a tight relationship between responsibility and aspiration and hierarchy. And when you criticize those things, you get rid of the aspiration. We are thrown challenges, and that in some sense those are best construed as tests of our ethical ability. So what Jung thought, his idea was something like this, that at the beginning of time people were unconscious, and that consciousness emerged with all of its catastrophes, consciousness of death, for example. And one way out of the burden of consciousness was to return to unconsciousness. You can do that with alcohol. You can do that by being dependent. You can do that by failing to grow up. You refuse the burden of consciousness by becoming unconscious again. But there's another way forward, which is to become even more conscious. So the idea would be a little bit of consciousness is like an illness. But if you can expand that consciousness upwards enough, then it starts to become something that is its own cure. And that partly what your goal is while you suffer through life is to heighten your consciousness to the point where everything gets integrated enough so that that's proper medication for the disease of self-consciousness.